So I'm just going to introduce myself, and I'm really going to give you a couple pointers, I guess, about some things I would have liked to have known. And then if you guys have any questions, and it really, of course it's going to be centered around Newman, but if you're not from Wichita and you're curious about stuff to do, places to eat, stuff like that, just let me know, and I'd be happy to sit here with Gabby and we'll talk about that stuff. So, is that better? Okay. So like Christine said, I'm from Oklahoma. I came to Newman in 2015 and I played basketball for Mark Potter, and RJ Allen was our assistant, who's your head coach now. I did that for 2 years, and then I stopped my junior year and I went to work for Emprise Bank and graduated in 2019, got my degree in accounting. I currently work for the city of Wichita as a senior accountant. I handle financial reporting and the utilities, our water, sewer, and stormwater systems, and all the finances with that. So that's pretty boring. I don't know how many questions you guys are going to have about that, but we can talk anything you want about Newman, freshman life, your progression through the 4 years that you're about to embark on, and anything like that. So you want to introduce her, or just want me to just keep going?
Hi, Gabby. Can you hear us?
You're muted.
Are you wanting me to introduce myself?
Hi,
That would be
Gabby.
ideal.
I wanted to make sure you could hear
Oh,
us.
awesome. Okay. Well, I'm Gabby Altenor, and I just graduated from Newman this spring. I'm going to be starting law school here on Monday in Topeka at Washburn Law. And that's pretty much my introduction.
Gabby, can you hear me? Gabby, can you hear us?
I can't hear you, Christine, but I can hear you yelling a bit.
Okay.
I just know the voice. That's my mama voice.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, wait.
Yes.
Okay. So Kyle is going to go first, and he's going to share
Is this for
information
the
about his experiences, and then we're going to go to you, and then we'll take questions for both of you, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I think I got the gist.
Okay. Can you hear me better if I talk into this?
Yes, that is amazing.
Okay. So Kyle is telling his story first, then we'll shift to your story, and then we'll open it up for questions for both, okay?
Perfect, sounds good.
Okay, it's great to see your face.
Great to see you too.
Okay, go ahead, Kyle.
Okay, so freshman year I did, I wrote for the Vantage for a year. That was pretty fun. I wasn't a writer. I didn't really like that kind of stuff, but I wanted to give it a try, and I enjoyed doing it. I was a business senator freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And then I was the treasurer senior year. That was a blast. The people that I met during that time are still in communication with me today. It was a great opportunity to, solicit from the masses like you guys, like, hey, what do we want out of Newman? What do we want to do? What do we want to see? And Gabby's going to be able to tell you a lot more about this than I am, and implement those changes so that student life and campus life can pretty much be all that it can be. Like I said, I stopped playing basketball, and that was something I absolutely had a blast doing. It gave me another opportunity to meet a great group of guys that I otherwise probably would have never been involved around. There's a lot of opportunities like that on campus, and we'll probably talk about them a little bit today. And then I went to work for the city as an intern because I had a plan to go work for a CPA firm when I graduated, and when that opportunity came up upon graduation, the city offered me a job to do something actually a little bit better. So I've been doing that, and that's the slide. Oh, I lived on campus I lived in Kurochi Hall and then Beata, and then spent the two senior years, junior and senior year, living off campus with a bunch of my buddies that I had lived with for years prior. So, and we all played some type of sport. So it's kind of what connected us.
Did you meet anybody fun when you were living in the residence hall?
Oh yeah, I like it. A lot of my best friends, because like I said, I'm from Oklahoma, so pretty much the foundation of my friendship and the connection with my network, my social network here today was founded at Newman, and a lot of those right back to the freshman dorms actually, and you know,
Did you meet anybody special in the room?
oh yeah, so my girlfriend is, we've been dating since freshman year, and I hate to say that because everybody I say that to is like, why haven't you proposed? Get off, blah blah blah. But whatever. I love her, and we're having a great time. She's at KU Med Wichita, so we were kind of the opposite. You know, a lot of students, you know, half of you guys, or most of you guys might even be, you know, biology, sciences, and then the rest of you guys are probably something like business, a couple education and stuff. But I did the business school, she did the biology program, and graduated, got into med school, and she's entering she's in the middle of her second year right now. So, yeah, she was special. She was special to me. Yeah. I thought you were talking about yourself. I was like, God.
No, I wanted to make sure Adrian got a shout. Okay, Gabby, we will switch over to you, and you can tell us a little bit about your experience at Newman and what advice you would give your freshman self.
Well, I hope I don't make a blunder like Kyle here, but here we go. So I was a bio major here at Newman. I graduated with a BA in bio with minors in Creole and Spanish. So pretty busy in the classroom as far as that goes. But I also did things like my freshman year, I was in the honors program throughout my time at Newman. Started my freshman year. I did things like being involved in SGA as well. I was a general senator my sophomore year, and then my third year I was actually student body president. So I was heavily involved in student government. I also was a resident assistant on campus. So my last 2 years at Newman, that's what I did. So I lived on campus all 4 years because of my scholarship. So freshman year I was in Karochi, sophomore year in Wichita, and then my last year in PA. So I got pretty much all of the dorms and all of the different vibes that they had. I did a lot more, and I'm blanking on everything else.
Gabby, how about a little bit more about the honors program and some of the opportunities with Kelly, with games, and then even traveling to that national conference?
Yes, so freshman year, we started the honors program off with freshman senior seminar? No, it's just seminar, freshman seminar. And so in that class, you really learn how to interact through games. And so what we would do is do historical games and kind of replay them through history and see how they could have gone different based on different points in the history and how our particular personalities change them up. So we did things like the French Revolution game. We did one on Aztec civilization. We did one on Title IX and sports and how that plays out and things like that. So it was a great opportunity for us to really learn who was kind of the sneaky people, who are the people that are standing back, but it also helped you learn how to argue effectively and to really strategically plan so that you can get your goals out in the games. We also did things in the honors program like go to movies and then have ice cream after to kind of debrief those movies, so that was really fun. We had parties as honors. We actually had our own TNT, our transitions and traditions class that you'll take as a freshman for orientation. And so we all had one class for the honors program, and so we became very close through that. We would have parties and such. We volunteered together. We had a lot of fun together. And lastly, through the honors program, one thing that Christine mentioned is that I had the opportunity to go to New Orleans for the honors conference so that I could learn more about diversity, equity, and inclusion and bring those ideas back to our Newman honors program. And so that was a great opportunity for me as well through the honors program. And I guess just overall about honors in the classrooms, since we talked about everything outside of it, it's really great because you have your designated honors courses, but you yourself as a student, an honors student, can customize which courses you want that aren't honors, aren't designated honors, so that you can delve more into material that you're interested in, learn more about a particular subject. For me in sciences, that was really helpful. For like genetics, I could look into how that could affect COVID and how that's spreading throughout people and just socioeconomic things like that. It just really allowed me to learn more about what I was interested in particularly and work particularly with my professors to really show them that I was interested in what they were teaching me and that I was willing to learn more and do more in the classroom. So lots of great opportunities in the honors program.
Thanks, Gabby.
Yep.
Kyle, what advice would you give to this crew as you reflect on your own experience at Newman And is there anything you learned throughout the course of your collegiate career that you wish someone would have told you earlier on when you first started?
Yeah. So just like, give me a quick show of hands. Like, how many of you have declared a degree and not? Okay. So, I mean, this is totally applicable to both of you guys. I came onto campus knowing that I was going to get an accounting degree, and I did that for reasons personally. I knew it was lucrative. I knew it would be safe, and so I had that plan. I went through the whole thing, and nothing fazed it. And here I am. Not to say that I don't love my employer, but I wish that I would have given myself the opportunity to explore more avenues of interest that I had, or I might not have even known that I had. And definitely the biggest way to do that is to get involved with groups on campus, groups off of campus, and just other people that you might not that might not play your sport, or that might not be in the same class as you are. Just give yourself an opportunity to really know in these formative 4 years what it is that piques your interest, because it's not like you can never go back to school, but when you graduate with that first degree and you get older, it will always be harder than it was when you got here this year to be able to pick that new career. It will never be impossible, but it will always get a little bit harder each and every year. You'll get older, you might have a significant other, you might start having a family. So just do not pass on an opportunity to, pick a random class maybe a couple times throughout your years, your first 2 years, out of the course catalog of something that your degree might not require, but that sounds a little bit interesting to you, or you heard some people had a good time in that class. And I'm not telling you guys, if you want to do something and you love that idea, to stray from that. Just give yourself an opportunity to know, to give yourself the opportunity to see all of the possibilities that you have whenever you graduate. So
really, to just collapse what you just said, expand your educational horizons.
Mm-hmm. And your social horizons.
Yeah, so if you have an opportunity to try something different or new that maybe isn't even in your wheelhouse, that this would be the time to do it. Is that
absolutely? Absolutely, yep.
Okay. Gabby, how about for you? What thoughts do you have, or what did you learn along your journey that you wish perhaps you had known a little earlier?
Kind of same thing as Kyle, but I'm going to take a little different twist on it. You are going to have a lot of opportunities in college that you may not necessarily have after you're done with this time. This is a very formative 4 years that you're about to embark upon. And so you should really take every single opportunity you have to try something new, try something different, get out of your comfort zone, whether it's to meet new people or to try different things, because you never know what it is that you may gravitate towards. And even if it's not going to be what it is that you're going to make your primary job in the future, it's good for you to learn these things because they can help you de-stress what you're going to need throughout school. They can help you just have a fun hobby to get into with your friends and to make new friends. And so I would say that's one of the biggest things. Be comfortable trying these new things, because you never know how it's going to go, how it's going to be for you. Like for me, for example, I'm not an actor. I don't do anything on the stage. I get very nervous. But Gabby did a couple of plays at Newman, surprisingly. So that's one thing you can do. Even being student body president, that was not something that was in my cards, but it happened because you have to take that opportunity and plunge into that. So I would say take every single opportunity that you have. But on another note, I would say it's important for you to recognize that in college, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to do many different things. And I would say the biggest thing that I wish I learned earlier was that you can really do everything, but you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And so you have to recognize when you need to say no to things. You have to recognize when you have different priorities. You have to recognize what is in your best interest, because you're going to have the opportunity to go to class, go to all these events, go to parties, go to all these different activities on and off campus. But is that the best thing for you to do when you have to finish your homework or you have a certain assignment to get done? And so learning how to say no for your sake, and even though it can seem daunting at first, is something that I wish I learned earlier.
Thank you for that. I have a follow-up question, but I want to plant the seed for your next question, and that is, how did you make the adjustment from high school to college in terms of studying and discipline? So be thinking about that.
Okay.
Gabby, before we move on from what you were just talking about, I was struck by a recent conversation we had at dinner about how your spirit opportunity presented itself because of a meeting you were at Newman. Can you talk a little bit about, because that's really, you availing yourself to an opportunity to be helpful, and then you met Dr. Black, and can you tell the audience kind of what happened and how that impacted your summer?
Yeah, let's get into that. It was kind of crazy, so be ready. But because of my role as student body president, our president, Dr. Jagger, had asked me if I would be willing to help with the technology at one of their meetings that they were having with a couple of members as they were trying to discuss a new idea at Newman. And so I was there to help with kind of the mic, the Zoom, everything that they needed technologically. And on this particular night, they were struggling. Like, I don't want to say they were old people struggling with technology, but they were struggling.
That's exactly what they were doing.
And so the mic was not working for Dr. Black. I had to help with that. The Zoom was not working for any of them. I had to make sure that everybody on the other side could see and hear them. And so that kind of opened the door for me with Dr. Black. He's like, she's just running around here doing everything, knowing how to do it and doing it while she looked good, that type of thing. And so he started asking me what I was involved in on campus. And I get to tell him all these things because, like I said, taking every single opportunity really helps you not only to build yourself, but to build your resume. And so he ended up asking for mine. And so I emailed it to him. Next thing I know, Gabby has a job offer at Spirit Aerosystems. And it has been such a blessing because I, as you guys know, I'm about to start law school. I was particularly interested in advocacy type laws because of what I had done just even at Newman and what I was interested in. But having this internship not only exposed me to amazing people that I still talk to every day, my coworkers actually have been texting me today, but it's allowed me to see that business law is potentially an avenue for me, and I loved my work. I loved my friends, I loved my coworkers, I loved the internship activities that they had specifically for the interns here in Wichita, and it was just an amazing, amazing experience as far as learning, networking, coming together, and just realizing that it was an amazing summer. I miss it, and I can't wait to go back, but that is just one way that being open to any opportunity to help out or to get out of your comfort zone can be life-changing for you. So make sure you take every single opportunity that you have.
Right. So to Kyle's point earlier, right, about availing yourself to all these opportunities and expanding your educational horizons, you were never thinking about Spirit Aerosystems. That was not on your radar.
Not on my radar ever. And I mean, you know that Kansas is the air capital of the world, but I never had any exposure to that other than knowing that we have Beechcraft, Textron, and all that. But this was really an inside look that I didn't know I needed because I loved working over there.
Yeah.
So.
And Gabby, when we had lunch a couple weeks ago, you told me about how that opportunity alone, like stair-stepped into another network of people that are very valuable people to have as mentors or just people to bounce questions off of. So that's another thing that's really important about all this.
I've had so many opportunities for that mentorship, that sponsorship, just from Dr. Black, Roy Moy, who is our HR director over there, the General League Counsel over there, the VP of Global Contracts, the VP of Finance, like everybody over there has been really great as far as networking and advice giving and just helping me to become the best version of me. And so it is really something you should consider when you're having these opportunities. You never know how they can affect you or better you, but they're there.
Yeah. So Kyle, tell us a little bit about how you made the successful transition from high school to college. I know early on, the first few years, you had basketball in the mix, so that was important, right, to find that. Mm-hmm. But what advice would you give these folks as they are transitioning from high school to college and understanding, one thing that comes to mind is, I remember a lot of times telling freshmen, When you get your syllabi, it says you can drop the lowest test score. A lot of freshmen think, well, I spent the first couple of weeks partying, so I'm not ready for the first test, so I'll just take a 0 in because I get to drop it. And I always like to remind them that that's a very bad idea, because later in the semester, you might really be challenged with a particular, topic, or you might get sick. And you want to save that pass for when you really need it, not in the very beginning of the semester. But think about your freshman year and how you transition from high school to college successfully. What advice would you give these folks?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good example there. Don't your time management, as Gabby alluded to a couple questions ago, is key. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have heard that a ton of times. But like, kind of what Christine said about the example of a student, using that test score the first week. I mean, don't be lazy. Like, don't utilize something that could be a tool for you or don't waste something that could be a tool for you later on. Right at the beginning. And that's not just something like that in the syllabi. There's a lot of those types of things that factor into your transition from high school to college that you really want to use at the right time. And honestly, the biggest thing that I would say to that question is you just need to be social in the classroom, and with coupling that with time management and making sure the assignments are done, making sure that you understand the assignments, so that your studying for tests become easier, so that you're not cramming, you're not losing out on opportunities to go watch a baseball game or do this or do that. But the social part is going to be the biggest part about transitioning, especially those of you who are away from your home city. Like for me, that was the biggest thing. I came up here, and one other girl from Oklahoma City that I knew had come up here, and that was it. That was the only people I knew. Didn't even know my roommate until I got here, and if I would have closed myself off and been intimidated by a whole new, not just environment, but city, landscape, everything, there's no way that I would have been able to have the successes that I had the fun that I have, enjoyed my time at Newman. So just, do whatever's within your comfort zone, but certainly don't shut yourself away from all those opportunities, to socialize, and because those friendships and those social events they'll bridge the gap of, missing home or family or the friends that you left or the friends that went to other schools or things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Gabby, do you have any thoughts that you would share about making the successful transition from high school to college in terms of expectations, in terms of teachers telling you when things are due, compared and contrasted to what happens at the college level?
I would say for me, the biggest thing is always going to be dedication and time management. The difference between college and high school is that your teachers are getting paid either way. You can fail and they're still going to get paid. But the good thing about Newman is that these teachers care about you, and so they're going to work with you, but you got to do your part too. I will always say there are non-negotiables for doing well in school, and that's you got to go to class and you got to do the work. If you do that and you plan out those times and you just kind of create a schedule for yourself so that you're not ever overwhelmed at any point, the class will be easy for you. And then you can focus on things like being social, your sports, your clubs, all of those other things, but you really got to make sure you're putting in the time and the dedication to doing well for your classes, because that's primarily why you're here. You're here to get your education first, and you have to remember that. And so for me, I would say the biggest thing that helped me to make sure that my grades didn't fall or to make sure that I was always doing well is to kind of think about where you want to be in the future and develop a goal for that and develop your purpose for that. So think about why, what is your why? And maybe make something tangible for that. Maybe make a little poster or have a little recording of yourself making this promise or something so that you can refer back to it when you're not feeling like doing homework or you feel like you're losing sight of the importance of your education. But just try and make sure that you always have that time management and that dedication, because those are the things that will carry you. And then school will be easy from there. And then you can focus on the things like making the friends that you're going to have for the rest of your life, or going to these social activities, doing your sports sports, doing well in those things. So make sure you have time and dedication.
Yeah, and if you give me a sec, Gabby, that's a great point about like the dedication to school. And the one thing that I knew that I wanted to tell you guys was Newman's a great thing about Newman is the community, the size of it, the relationships you can build with your professors. But that can also be, for people who don't manage that properly, that can be a bad thing. You know, if a professor understands that, you know, you've got practice, or you're working a part-time job or whatever, and they give you an assignment or two, a break, you know, every quarter, you don't want to think in the back of your mind, like what Christine was alluding to, oh, I can screw off on this one assignment and they'll be okay, they're my friend or something like that. Because they will get paid at the end of the day. And you know, I think we can all objectively as adults say that they should penalize you for things like that. But you know, those opportunities will be there. And a lot of my friends from high school went to large state universities, and none of them experienced that level of flexibility that I know that I did, and we talked about that a lot. And that's a great thing, because when you have flexibility like that in the classroom, and the most important thing that you're here to do, to learn, that opens up your schedule to do those other things that are really important to, you know, becoming a functioning, successful young adult. So.
Absolutely. So I want to open it up to the audience. You've got two recent alums who've had two similar but different experiences. Gabby is a local student. She graduated from Cape of Mount Carmel. Kyle, as he mentioned, is from Oklahoma, so they came from different places. They took different paths. They studied different majors, but they have become friends over time. So what questions might you have for either of them about their experiences that would help you?
How many hours should I set aside a week for studying?
Well, I mean, it depends on your course load, Gabby, wouldn't you think? Like, I know most of the semesters I did 15, and whatever the class, you know, demands. And like the syllabuses, at least the ones that I had, and I think a lot of the professors are the same for the business school, they kind of give you a general idea, you know, of that. And then the rest is just based up to you. Like, if you're somebody who can just read through the chapter, understand the concept, and move on. If you're somebody who needs like activity-based learning, where you skim the chapter and take the activities at the end, and you can learn that way. But generally, I probably spent I probably spent 8 hours a week, you know, and that includes like test prepping as well. But that, you know, that might not be what a biology student does. That might not be what you do. So, but generally, yeah.
The question was how many hours you study a week?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well for me, yeah, the bio might be a little different. I will say that biology courses are set up different from other majors in that they, or any of the pre-med curriculums too, you don't technically have homework. And I think that's kind of the same for law school too. You don't technically have homework, but you have your tests. And most of those courses are just going to be comprised of test grades. And so what you always need to make sure you're doing is you're reviewing the material after every class that you have. You may have that class 3 times a week, so you're reviewing that information 3 times a week. Just because you don't technically have homework to kind of gauge where you are, just from like an answer standpoint, and it's mostly processes that you're learning anyway, so it's really about you studying and learning that information so that you can show you know it on the test. And so it just depends on how much you know coming in from high school. I had bio 1 already taken, so that helped me with bio 2 just because I knew a little bit of that information. If you've taken anatomy before, anatomy is going to be pretty much easy for you. It's a lot of memorization. But it just depends on the course, and really it just depends on how much information you feel you need to learn and how you're learning it, how long it takes you. You really shouldn't base how much time you should study off of what other people are doing. You should base it off of what works for you, like Kyle was mentioning. You may have different methods of learning, and that includes how much time it's going to take you to study. And so you need to find what works best for you.
Yeah. What would you each share with this group in terms of doing the required reading? Is that essential? Is it just like high school? Is it different? What would you share with this group about assigned readings?
For me, even just from what I've heard for law school, I think this is very applicable here. You need to do the readings. It's not like they're not going to be referring to it in class. They're not going to go over the reading with you in class like they would in high school or grade school. You need to read that information so that you can hold back to it when they're talking about these concepts as if you've read the material already. And that goes for biology courses, that goes for the philosophy courses, that goes for any of the courses at Newman. You should always do the reading. I know people always say they don't do the reading. There is no Spark Notes for these science classes. I promise you, I would have had them already. You gotta do the reading. Even if it's just skimming over, you gotta do the reading just because it really is in your best interest to have as much exposure to the material that you're gonna be learning from these professors. They know it. They usually have their doctorates. They know this information. They need you to read it so that it's easier for them to explain it and easier for you to soak in what it is that they're explaining to you. So do the reading. I know a lot of people are gonna tell you just this: if you don't get anything, do the reading. Do your homework, do the reading.
Yeah, and like one thing that like some of the business students and I would do, who like kind of had classes together pretty much the whole time we were there was, and this might work differently for biology and the sciences, but we would like do homework together sometimes in the study rooms in the library. Those are awesome resources, and we would not do them to get them done, but we would do them to talk about them. And so, and at least for me, talking about them and talking through a problem was like huge in terms of understanding the concept we were trying to get there. And you can do the same thing with reading too. We did that a couple times. We took sociology with Dr. Heck, and it was a very, very interesting book that we read in that class. And my buddies and I would just kind of read it back and forth to each other. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes you're like, man, I don't wanna do this. And those types of things helped me to do them. Because when I was sick and tired of doing stuff, preparing for school, you know, I never lost sight that I needed to, but you know, those types of extra things can certainly keep you on track and keep your motivations.
Great, thank you. Other questions from the group? Yes, in the back there.
How do you keep like a budget for like outside expenses? Because I've already know that I'm going to spend a lot of money for school, and I'm kind of worried with spending for bills, but then also having time to actually like go to the movies or buy food or something like that.
So Gabby, the question was, how do you prepare some type of a budget? She knows she's going to spend money beyond just what it costs to go to school and kind of the time management of things like if she wants to go to a movie and that kind of thing. So Kyle, do you have a thought to that?
I don't know if you or anybody else who's listening to this question has been kind of financially independent coming into college, but I think either way this applies. The second that you start to accrue debt doing social things, you've overstepped your means. And like that's just a very straightforward thing. Like, but some people have to realize that. You know, if some of you are taking on debt to go to school, get that degree, to go on a career path. For Gabby to go to law school, for my girlfriend to go to med school, to take that step. But if you're accruing like credit card debt to do things like, you know, go to River City on Friday night, or you know, whatever. Then that's personal to you. That's where that's like a stop in the road, and you're like, I can't be doing that. And you know, then it just becomes like, what does your situation allow? Could you get a part-time job? Because you don't want to have financial stress on top of school, sports, whatever you may be doing. But yeah, I would just basically, I mean, kind of what I do now. Just lay out an idea of what you're going to spend, like $100 every other week for miscellaneous stuff. Go out to eat instead of go to the caf, or you know, go play around a golf at the city courses, or whatever you guys want to do. Just have a loose number, but you know, whenever you start noticing that you're creeping out of that number and you know you're in trouble, be adult enough to stop and reevaluate your situation. And take advantage of resources too.
Yes.
Take advantage of resources, financial literacy resources and things like that.
Yeah. Before Gabby gives her response, I just want to say I just had this discussion. I have twin boys who are seniors this year at Caven, and we just had a conversation with one of them because we were trying to give them the opportunity to make decisions independently, and we got a bill, and we had him sit down and add up how much money he had spent at Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, IHOP.
He worked at Chick-fil-A.
Noodle place, and so he was very surprised. We asked him, how much do you think you spent the last month? And he gave us a figure, and it was 3 times that.
Yeah.
So having him sit down and actually with the calculator add it up was a little eye-opening experience for him. I would encourage everyone in the room to be more mindful of how you spend your discretionary money. Gabby, what would you share?
I exactly will echo what Kyle said. For me, it just boiled down to what I noticed from my peers. So I will just say one thing is being part of the social environment. You're gonna want to go out and eat with your friends all the time. You can still be social, but you better bring your lunch or you better bring some food that you made at home that's cheap with groceries, because that is one of the biggest ways college students kind of mess up their budget. It's by spending it on things that they technically don't need. And so exactly what Kyle said, try and make a budget probably once a month or for every 2 weeks of what it is that you're going to allow yourself to use for these types of things, so that you're not going over that, because it is very hard, especially once you get into the middle of the semester, you're knee deep in your classes and got all your sports, your activities, you're tired, you don't want to go and make food for yourself or eat what you already have. You want to go out and do some other things and de-stress and those types of things. You got to make sure that you allot a certain amount for that, because that money will fly away before you know it. And so some couple things you can do is kind of look up articles on tips of how to manage your money. I would say one of the biggest things for me was getting jobs. So I got jobs on campus, I got jobs off campus. There are an abundance of them. There's lots of benefits of having a college here in a city and a town that's not just a college town, so you have a great array of options for jobs in the Wichita area. But you also have those on campus, and those things can really be good for you because they can relate to your major, like if you want to be a TA in bio or chemistry, if you want to do data analytics work in one of the offices, any of those types of things, you can find something that aligns with what it is that you're studying. And one other tip I would say is to try and use cash. You're less likely to go swiping your card a million times if you use cash to help you budget. So say you have $100 for those every 2 weeks, like Kyle said. You have that, and you're not going to swipe. You promised yourself you're not going to swipe your card. That'll make it less likely that you're just going to be spending endlessly, because when you have something tangible like that you see breaking down every time, you're less likely to continue using it. So a lot of those things are kind of budgeting tips that you can get from there. But you can also look those things up too and find what works best for you and tailors best to you.
I think that's so true, and one of the things we found with one of our boys, because we were trying to empower him with the debit card, but we discussed that became too easy. He wasn't seeing the money, he just handed over the card. Yeah. So we were like, okay, no more debit card, you need to see the money that you're paying every time you're doing this, so that you have some sense of how much money you're spending, and you can curb it. So sometimes using that card it tricks your brain, and you still think you have money.
Yeah,
it tricks your brain. It's bad just because even nowadays they have a card that you can put in, they have a card that you can tap, they have a card that you can go in and watch.
It's like you're not even doing it.
Oh baby, I just be putting that thing on there and do it. Accept it. It's so easy to spend money. So try and use cash. It makes it a lot easier for you to manage and see exactly what it is that you're spending every time, so that you're not going over your limits.
Yeah, and definitely review it too. Review it annually, because I got into a little situation there when I was skirting out of school, where I was having a little fun downtown a lot, and I looked, on my Discover card, I could look at, from this month to this month, and I chose a category, and it was like restaurants and bars, and I was, I did not have a grasp on where I was, and so you just got to stay vigilant. We could sit here and give you specific things you can do, but you just got to stay vigilant. So.
All right, we have time for one more question. Yes.
So more specifically for Kyle, what makes Wichita exciting? What kept you here? What's keeping you here?
So,
repeat the question, Kyle.
She asked me what, somebody that came from another city, what makes Wichita a place that I wanted to stay at, what makes it exciting. And this piggybacks off of what we just talked about. The cost of living is huge. And, my girlfriend is here, so that's definitely a factor. But the thing that I like about Wichita is there's a lot of freedom. It's controlled freedom. Like, it's not reckless. You know, if you have instances where you slip up in the classroom or, you know, having fun on a weekend or something, this is not the type of city that is going to penalize you to, you know, where it's going to harm you in your future to that extent. You know, I mean, this is all within the confines of the law, but there's also, like, Wichita, for those of you who are not from here, Wichita is on a surge. Economic growth that we are pushing to bring in new companies. I bet you anybody you ask on the street would have no idea that one of the top 5 industries that employs all of our citizens here in Wichita is information technology, is IT. I had no clue when I was in school, and you know, when I learned that recently, it's crazy. So we're growing. I look at the Riverfront Master Plan. That is one thing that really got me super excited about Wichita, because I'm from Oklahoma City, and in my lifetime, the economy and the social amenities in that town have flipped upside down. I mean, people are flocking from the coast to live in Oklahoma City. The movie industry, DreamWorks Studio has moved to the Cox Convention Center downtown. It's becoming things that are new, and that's exactly what Wichita is trying to do. I am riding that potential and following that potential for Wichita to become bigger and better. But for things that are here now, everything that I like to do is here. I mean, there are parks, there's open spaces, there's expensive fun, there's cheap and free fun, there's ability to mingle, it's spread out, it's affordable, and it's, you know, there's people here that I love, so.
Okay. Well, Gabby and Kyle, I want to thank you both so much for sharing your thoughts. Can you give them a round of applause, please?
Oh, Christine, I want to ask one question, and you just raise your hand or whatever. So, what is the most important thing that you think Gabby and I said today? Just somebody. What is the most important thing you're going to take away about going to the, yeah? That is exactly what I was looking for. That is exactly what I don't know if you like to play golf, but what? Well, here you go. There. So, yeah, I just wanted, that's exactly, oh yeah, sorry, Gabby. Expand your horizons. Yeah.